Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, Nerd Mode On, and I'll be doing a gameplay commentary over some Call of Duty Ghosts. In this particular episode, I'll be using the AK-12 with a red dot and a grip. And the main reason I like to use the AK-12 is because one of my good friends named Ben, he's an absolute monster of a player. He does very consistent, and he's definitely right behind me when it comes to the leaderboards and Domination, which I find to be pretty awesome. But with that in mind, of course, he recommended the gun to me, and I thought, if he's telling me it's a pretty good gun, it's probably a pretty good gun. And needless to say the least, guys, it reminds me kind of like the Galil from Black Ops 1. Granted, visually, it looks absolutely nothing like it, but I've heard if you put a silencer on it, it kind of gives you that feel of the Galil. If you guys have been playing Call of Duty for quite some time, it's like a mix of the AK-47 from COD 4 and the Galil of Black Ops 1. Now, of course, that's kind of stretching it a little bit considering that, one, visually, they kind of look a little bit more closer to the AK-47 because it does have the AK on there, so it does make sense. But it just takes you guys a little bit of your imagination to start going, those little gears inside of your head to start to rotate a little bit more. And with that in mind, you might come to the same conclusion as me, or you guys might compare different weapons. That's pretty consistent. The main reason I like to use a red dot is considering that you get an ADS quicker. Using an ACOG has sufficient penalties to you. I wish people would understand this before they're just like, yeah, use the ACOG, it's a great attachment. Well, it'd be a great attachment if Call of Duty or the particular department that is behind the installation of the one we're playing would realize that you shouldn't be penalized for an ACOG. At least it shouldn't be so sufficient and it shouldn't be so noticeable to the point where it deters players from using it. To start off with, you get an increased amount of recoil. 2, you actually get more sway, which maybe it isn't a big deal to you. I know there's counters in the game to actually make it so you have less of that and all that good stuff. But standard out of the box, you could use a red dot and not have any penalty, or you can use an ACOG and have to use another perk to basically fine-tune your penalty. I mean, it's just kind of dumb. And with that in mind, it takes up more screen region. Using an ACOG takes up more of your visual, noticeable, departments to actually visually pick out which department you're going to attack the oppositional player that you want to kill. And in some cases, if the ACOG is, covering up their body, you're not going to see them. They're going to be missed and they might shoot you in the back. So with that in mind, guys, that's the main reason I use that particular sight. Now, of course, I like the grip because it decreases recoil and it makes the gun a little bit more manageable to use. I'm sure many of you guys have noticed that Call of Duty Ghost has implemented a very heavy recoil pattern into the game, and this is not like Call of Duty. Call of Duty is usually a game that every gun is a laser, there is virtually no recoil in the game, and every gun can be used by a 7-year-old in the country. Well, Call of Duty Ghost doesn't seem to be that easy. I'm not going to say that Call of Duty is on the par level of some of those extreme games out there, but it's a little bit more difficult than it was in the past. Peppering the trigger is not the prime way to kill your oppositional player anymore. It's a lot better, but you'd almost find out that you have so much deviation to the point where you feel like you're playing Battlefield 3 with suppression tuned on all the way to the maximum capacity. It's a little crazy. But more or less, guys, I would have to say that I'm really enjoying the game. And I know for some of you guys out there that have been watching me play Call of Duty for, years now, will note that I'm not always the most excited when the Call of Duty title comes out. I've threatened to say that I'll never play Call of Duty again. Needless to say the least, here I am. With that in mind, of course, there are many times that I've wanted to stop playing. There's many times where I've just felt like the game is so terrible, also known as Modern Warfare 3, and with that in mind, of course, I've attempted to break the disc. There's a good story behind Modern Warfare 3. I think I'll probably share it with you guys someday, but more or less when it comes down to it, the last 2 Call of Duties have been, in my personal opinion, the worst Call of Duties. And I know somebody's going to jump out there and go, well, you only hate Black Ops 2 because you were playing it, so now you're probably going to love it. No, I promise you, I will probably never play Black Ops 2 again, and I can promise you as well, I'll never play Modern Warfare 3 again. At least I'll never upload a video of that game. I just don't enjoy those. I mean, they were the most noob-friendly titles I think I've probably ever played, and they had so many issues that were never resolved. It was unparalleled. So, just realize that I'm not like every person in the world. I don't magically go off of this kind of mental combination of going, well, I hate this game just because it's out, I'll love it as soon as it's done. That's not exactly how I work. I don't work that way, and I'm sure most of you guys don't work that way either. If you hated a particular Call of Duty, there's a high chance that you probably don't go play that Call of Duty after you've hated on it. That only makes sense, of course. So, with Call of Duty Ghost, however, I've actually found myself really enjoying the experiences. I like the weapons. I think they did an absolute amazing job with the animation. And visually, I think the game looks pretty solid. Don't get me wrong, though, coming from Battlefield 4 on PC with ultra graphics and 200 and some frames per second every inch of the way is a little different than going back to a game that plays on, medium settings. I would have to say it's probably pretty medium. And with that in mind, of course, going back to 60 frames per second, which is no different than Battlefield 4. Don't let me try to fool you there. But you do get a little bit more of a different experience. You get to actually visually figure out, what the absolute definition of lag compensation is. You get to find lag. You get to find, maybe younger people on the console side of it. Not to say that PC has, these super old guys by any means, but there's not as many microphones on PC, or people are not too tended to talk. And that can be a good and a bad thing. Most people in the world don't buy top-of-the-line headsets, so in most cases, I'm pretty excited about that. But on the flip side of it, communication is key in a video game. That's why Call of Duty is so much better to play as an MLG title, because everybody almost has a microphone, at least on Xbox. I can't speak for PlayStation because I've had the experiences in the past. I don't know if anything's changed over the last 4 years, but I would imagine you guys probably don't have as many microphones as Xbox does, considering that most Xboxes ship with an automatic, microphone. So it only makes sense that it's a little bit easier to make, coordinated attacks and, discuss things, have a good time in the lobby with randoms, or in some cases troll them if you have a microphone. So with that in mind, of course, guys, many of you know that I play on Xbox 360, so I do have those abilities to use communication, to use those kind of party systems and all that good stuff. So what I'm really trying to get down to, guys, is that Call of Duty Ghosts plays sufficient for the Xbox 360. I think the Xbox One is going to blow our mind. I know some of you PC guys out there are, kind of giggling in your chair and stuff. And, I kind of agree with you on some accounts, but I think the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4 is going to revolutionize console gaming. Having your resolution rates being extended to 720p on the Xbox One and 900p on the PlayStation 4 is actually a big jump. If you compare it to what Call of Duty looks like now, there's going to be a lot less, stretch in the image. A lot of the times you guys will probably have seen Call of Duty gameplay on PC and realize that they just looked way different. With the way they move, the frame rate, just the ability of the characters looks sufficiently different than console version. That's for a lot of reasons, of course. But realizing that the resolution rates are going to be a little bit closer to what PC is actually upholding in most standard games is actually a welcoming to the community. So that's kind of what I think about that. I don't want to dwell too much about that because it just brings out the elitist part of the community, and it brings out all this conversation of consoles and all that fun stuff that you guys see in comments areas on all kind of big videos. But more or less, guys, I think it's a good thing that the next gen coming out. If you guys are waiting for it for, Call of Duty Ghosts for the next gen, I probably would highly recommend it. I think it's going to look absolutely gorgeous. If it looks good on, the standard issue of Xbox One and PS3, I imagine it's going to look a lot better with the next-gen consoles. So just take that into consideration. So anyway, guys, some of you might wonder, why do I like Call of Duty Ghosts? What makes this title different from the other ones? And in most cases, it just reminds me of the old days of actually enjoying Call of Duty. And I know that sounds kind of just absolutely absurd to some accounts because you can enjoy Call of Duty no matter how you play it. But with that in mind, a lot of you guys know that I am very aggressive in some accounts when it comes to stats. I think stats mean a lot. You may not agree with my theory. You may not care about my theory. But when it comes down to it, I really like stats. I think they mean something. I think they are a way to intimidate the opposition without actually doing anything. You're striking fear into their eyes before they know what's coming. And some of you just won't understand the references, and that's perfectly understandable. I mean, a lot of my friends that played with me on Black Ops 1 knew people left the lobby when they saw me in the game. Because everybody would check each other's stats. I was the same person. When new people would join, I would go right to their kill-death ratio and see exactly what they had. Because that's the best way to figure out if they're a good player or somebody that's just maybe not the best in the world. And a lot of the times, having a 5 kill-death ratio, or at least really close to it, was a good way for the other team to go, yeah, I'm not too interested in this lobby now. Maybe 5 isn't good for you guys. I don't know. I don't know what some of you guys have. But with that in mind, of course, there was a lot of people that would leave. There was a lot of trash talkers too, which those were the best days ever. I wish I was recording in-game chat at that time, but I wasn't. And that's just something that kind of came to the more consistent side of this, guys. But anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is that I like my stats. I think they're really good. I'm on a 55 win streak, I think, right now. I'm 55-1. The one loss was only because of a disconnect because a server crashed, but the connection is sufficiently better than it's ever been before. Lag compensation, I haven't even noticed it, which is absolutely amazing, and I shouldn't notice it because I pay real money for my internet. I pay a lot of money per month. You know, it's absolutely absurd sometimes how much that gets expensive. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys are enjoying Call of Duty Ghosts. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of it. If you guys love it, you hate it, you're in the middle, you haven't bought it. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next installment. This is NMO, and I'm signing out, guys. Peace.